Hi everyone and welcome to the studio and another new tutorial. Actually, this is a two-part tutorial. So the first part, which is this part, we're going to be painting monochromatically, and then I'm going to move you on to colour. But that sounds simple, but there's so much more involved, especially in this first tutorial, because I want to really share with you how to work from photographs. We've all got photographs, we've got billions of photographs, and we take them as artists because we're attracted to the subject and we want to paint it. And then we get home and we get our photos out and we get all our equipment out and we start to paint, and we get totally confused by it all, and we don't end up painting the vision we had in our head to start with. We've all been there. So for me, really, the answer to the question is simplification. And if you want to work from your photographs, then this is something that you really do need to practice. I'm going to show you a photograph that I took on location. Then I'm going to show you how I decided to crop that image. And then I'm going to show you how to paint a monochromatic version from the cropped image. And then we're going to move on to paint a colour version. So it's quite an in-depth tutorial. And really it is all about simplification. Simplifying, decluttering, making for a pleasant composition. Gosh, that sounds an awful lot, doesn't it? But I know some of you are dying to splash colour around as well. And I don't blame you, because I love to splash colour around. But let me be truthful with you. When I first started to paint, I was overwhelmed by colour and value and composition. Oh, it's just so much to take in, isn't it? Especially if you want to work from your own photographs. But I found that painting monochromatically just was amazing for me, for my progress. And I just started to see a vast improvement in my work. The more I practiced monochromatic painting, or even charcoal painting using tonal value, I then got to understand more about the consistencies of colour and paint that I needed to create a beautiful painting. So there's a reason why we paint monochromatically, for that reason, and also you can create a beautiful piece of artwork as well, because who doesn't love a lovely monochromatic painting? Have I talked too much? Okay, go grab your brushes and let's get started on this really lovely tutorial. So before we get started, as usual, I'll go through the materials I'm going to be using today. I've got a piece of Bockingford paper and I've cut it to roughly 1/4 imperial size. Big jug of clean water, always got my kitchen roll. I've got 2 brushes here, a size 4 and a size 8 brush. And I'm using the Lunar black. You could use any dark colour, Prussian blue, ultramarine blue, burnt umber, you name it. You can use it, but it's got to be a dark colour because you're looking to create value. So make sure that it's a nice deep colour that you're using. So, okay, so you can see I've got a drawing down on my paper here, but I want to just go through that with you because this is the original photograph. I'm going to hold that up to camera. Can you see that? Whoops, something just fell off my board there. So yeah, we've all got photographs like that, haven't we? I mean, it's not really great, is it? I probably snapped it just thinking, oh, that's a nice little picture. I might paint that someday. And then I've looked at it again and thought, maybe not. There's too much going on in that. But it's all about simplification. So if let's do something, let's do that. And let's crop it a little bit more. So we're zooming in on that lovely light on that church building. Okay, so let's move that out of the way. And here I have now cropped the picture and took a photocopy of it. So I'm basically just getting the church, this building here. This seems a little complicated, but we can make that nice and simple. And that's what it's about, simplification. Working from photographs or being outside can be really overwhelming because there is so much going on, but you need to learn to simplify. And that's not cheating, by the way. You know, Turner did it all the time. He moved buildings around, for goodness sake. So if he can do it, it's good enough for Turner. It's good enough for us. So let's move that out of the way. So now I've got the drawing down. And as you can see, I've got the church in here. I've got this barn in here. And what have I done here? I've put a bush on this side. I like to call them stage curtains. So I've put a bush on this side. I'm going to use the tree here on this side. So that's going to bring it together. I've not drawn any windows or doorways. I've just put little indications. There's one little doorway and just a couple of details on the church here. Just to scribble a little line for the wall. That's lines going across like that. And I've put a pathway in as well. With the drawing here, you can see I've put a little pathway in there just to take the viewer in. So we've gone from this to this to this. And that's what it's about. And having a plan like this is just great practice. Now I will be adding other little bits because I do like the way that this bush here is coming out on this side here, and it's showing off that lovely light because of course Mr. Sunshine is coming in from that direction, isn't he? So sunshine here, a nice dark against the light. Not too concerned with these trees here because they're a dark against a dark, so I think I'm going to give them a miss. And what else have I changed? Not a lot really. The one main thing I have changed though as well, sorry, I have changed one other thing, these two buildings here. I didn't feel that the composition needed them, so I've taken them away. So there we go. We're all set, we've got a plan, and what I'm hoping to do with this is to take this one further for you. So we're going to work monochromatically with this one, as you can see, and then we're going to work on a colour version. So doing the monochromatic version, it's hard to say, isn't it? Monochromatic version is a great way to get you in the zone when it comes to painting the colour version. So, are you ready? Okay, let's get started and start to paint. So we're all ready to paint, and I'm going to make a nice mixture of this lovely dark colour. And I'm not going to worry about sky for now. Let's not overcomplicate things. Let's think about how we can make things look three-dimensional. That is the aim, isn't it? And to simplify. So let's start by putting in a wash here. This is the church. Now remember, we're painting nice and loose, so don't be too bogged down with details. All the way down. Now, remember Mr. Sunshine coming this way, so I've got a little tree here, look. So I'm going to paint against that shape. There we go. And I can bring that wash all the way down here because this isn't going to be light, this building. It's all just one lovely shape. There we go. And of course we're going to put a bush there as well, so I'll just push a shape in with my brush like that. And that then becomes some kind of shrub or bush. It's that simple. Okay. So let's come across now and let's block these shapes in. So there's one little roof. And again, I'm working wet into wet, so it doesn't matter if this wash runs into that one. There's that lovely tree shape again. There's another shape here, which is the roof. I can bring that wash down. Now, I want to keep this little porch light here, so I'll paint over the top of it and just leave that lovely right-hand side as a dark. There's the wall. And I can put in a bit more value here, which is that little bush, but remembering to keep that lovely light on it as well. There we go. I'm stopping here because I want us to put a wall in here, and I'd like to capture the light on top of the wall as well. Okay, I did say I wasn't going to put them in, but I'm going to just put a suggestion in. And there's a tree shape. You're allowed to change your mind. I don't want to make a thing of them. I think that's the thing, that's what I'm trying to say really. I don't want to make a thing of them. There's a tree shape. We can have the wall here coming across, so we're not painting the wall. Now notice as well, I've put a little gap in my brick wall here because I want to give the viewer somewhere to go, so they're going to follow our path and they're going to go through that little gate. That's the wall in, so we're just leaving the light for that. And here we can just push in some washes here that could be bushes or shrubs later on. So once you've caught the light, it means that you can really just enjoy just blocking in those shapes. So I'll just recap here, look. I've left a light on the side of the church here. I've left a light here. I've left a light here, and I've left a light going across the top of that wall. And while we're here, we may as well block in some shapes here, which could be our grass shape. So remembering to leave that little pathway, there it is. Nice big brush strokes. And I'll lose it a little bit as well, so I'll add some water and just lose that shape a little bit. Push those edges out, let's vignette them out like that. And really, that is the first stage. That is our first wash down. Now, I know I have painted that really quickly, and I know that some of you will struggle with that, but I've been doing this a long time, don't forget, and monochromatic painting is what really moved me forward within my watercolours. So it's really worth practicing. I can see a few little areas I'd like to lift out, like I've lost the pathway here, so just a little bit of a thirsty brush there, just lifting that light away. There we go, just lifting it out a little bit. And of course, if there's any areas that you find that you've lost, you can get a bit of kitchen roll and dab it away, or you can just use a thirsty brush like I have. Okay, now it's time to let that completely dry. So we're nice and dry now, and it's time to start thinking about how we can make objects look 3D. And I think it's the shadows, in fact I don't think I know, it's the shadows that are going to do the work for us. If you look at the picture again, you can see quite clearly, look, there's a lovely shadow on the top of this building here, there's a shadow here. All this seems to be in shadow. This section, or this little building here, is casting a shadow on the wall. So if you look carefully, they're always there to be found. Before I do that, I'm just going to put my little twiddly bits on top of my church. So just a few little twiddles there, look. There we go. That'll do. It's very simple. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just allow that to blend in a little bit as well. There we go. Just blending that wash in. There we go. Okay, so let's think about shadows. So if I take some of my wash, and it's a darker wash, I'm going to run a shadow along this rooftop here. It kind of comes across something like that, and it reaches the top of the other building. So it's just a nice, simple, dark shape. I'll leave a little tiny line between the two, and then I get to this lovely bush shape. So I can paint around that, and again bring that shadow across. I'll soften that one as well, just give it a nice soft effect. There we go. And I can bring that shadow down here as well, down into this area here, against that lovely light of this little porch, against the light here of the wall, and against the light of that lovely building here. Cleaning my brush, and I'm pushing that wash out. Constantly cleaning the brush when I do that, just pushing that wash out, because we don't want to lose that lovely light on the bush here, do we? We don't want to lose that. And if you find that, you know, you want to add more dark, so you can always come back in and add a few more. So for instance, why not put a little bit of extra dark here in this corner? You are in control. Just because that isn't happening in real life doesn't mean that you can't do it. There we go. A nice little shape there that looks like a little bush or a tree coming across. Okay, back into that wash again. Let's put a nice line of shadow underneath the eave there, look. And I'm going to just bring that shadow out like that against the porch. I'm going to clean my brush and just soften that away, making sure that I touch the top of those lovely stones. There we go. And already it's starting to take shape, isn't it? Just by using shadow. Okay, let's do that again. Let's think about, I've got a bush shape here, so why not kind of just pull in some shadows that could be coming from that, across that roof shape. We'll put a shadow underneath there as well. I'll just soften that with a bit of water. There we go. And I can push that colour up into that bush shape and just soften it away. There we go. And it just blend in. So you're nice and vague at this point here. What about the wall itself? Let's take our wash. We know that this building here is going to cast a shadow, but then we'll start to leave those little tiny top bits there, look, of that wall. Cleaning my brush, just softening that down. There we go. I can do the same here. Put that lovely dark against the top of those stones and pull that wash across in the direction as well that the shadows are going. That's always helpful. I've got a section here, haven't I? And I said I was going to put those buildings in, and I have done. So I've got a nice tree shape here and a couple of bush shapes. So let's find them. So that's the edge of that tree shape. And then we'll have maybe another bush shape and they're coming like that. So I'm not painting them, I'm going to paint against them. So these are the other buildings in the background. All the way down like that. So now we've got the shape of that tree, so we can put a bit more dark into that. And I'm leaving this light on this side, and again I'm being vague here, I'm not giving too much away detail wise. Always putting darks against lights is such a good idea. Let's put some dark in there as well. Pushing that across. And if you find that you struggle with this type of exercise, go back to some of the earlier tutorials that I did where we just looked at creating shape and form on shrubs and trees. That's going to be really helpful. Ooh, okay. So we're looking great. Let's put some other dark marks in now. So slightly darker wash. And I'd like to put those two little windows in that are here. Just a couple of strokes with the brush. And there's a lovely little clock there, so I'll just put a nice little circle shape just to suggest that. And I'm very much drawing with my brush at this point. I've got a linear mark that comes across like that. So it's a straight line and then it's on an angle. I'll do that again, a straight line into that wash and then it's on an angle. So it's all beginning to come together. I'm just wondering whether we'll get away with this, because I did say before I love that dark little bush that's just creeping out here, and it really is doing us a massive favour because it's showing off the light on the side of the church. So let's really bring that dark out like that. There we go. And that's helpful, isn't it? That's very helpful because it really does show off the light here as well. I have a few more things to do. At this point, I think I need to let it dry because there's not many places I can work at this point. But we're getting there now. We're getting to near the end. And a study like this is just fantastic for you to paint a picture from rather than the photograph. So let's be patient and let this one completely dry. So mine is nice and dry now. I can carry on putting those lovely final little details in there. Let's make a bit of sense of what's going on here. So I've got two rooftops, haven't I? I've got a rooftop that goes like that, and then another rooftop that goes like that. And I'm going to make that a little bit darker underneath, just to give that a bit of separation. Oh, I forgot my twiddly bits on the top of these buildings here. They're nice to add, aren't they? I'll just put those in like that. And oh, we've got a nice little doorway here as well, or a window. Pop that in. And I'm just looking for little areas now where I can really make a difference. So I'm going to come in and make that just a little bit darker against that porch. I really want to show that porch off. So another darker value here. Bringing that across and letting it blend in with that lovely shrub that we've put there earlier. There we go. And what about some darks underneath the little stones, perhaps? So we could have a few of those. Straighten that off a little bit. There we go. And we could put some onto this one as well. That's much better, isn't it? I'm not too sure whether we need too much detail there. I can always come in and put some more if I wanted to. Where can we go next? Always looking at where we can go next. Okay, let's add a little darker mark underneath here, which is the rooftop here. And a couple of little things. It's got a lovely little drain pipe coming down, so I'll pop that in. I'm going to make the shadow a bit darker as well against that shape. And I think I should come in with my bigger brush now, because I want us to really put a bit of oomph into this foreground area here and keep this path nice and light. So again, I'm just going to add a darker wash now and really kind of emphasize that shape. So there's the little pathway look. We're not going to paint that. We're going to try and keep it if we can. Don't worry if you lose some of it. It doesn't matter. There we go. And we'll come in on this side here. Just about manage to keep that pathway. Maybe some darker edges on these grasses as they come forward. Cleaning my brush and just pulling that across, pulling it across. There we go. The shadow, or should I say the darker grasses, are really helping now, aren't they? I'm just popping in some quite dark value along those edges as well, just to give them more of an edge. And I can see a bit of shadow, so I'm just going to pop in maybe some little taps with the brush. That might be quite nice, just to give that feeling of shadows coming from this side. I'd like a little dark in here as well. Oh, always test your colours. I think I went a bit too dark there, so I'm going to just lift a little bit of that away. There we go. Just showing off that little gateway really, and the little dark bit between those lovely walls. Again, if I wanted to create more shape here, I could make this side of this tree a little darker. And I think when I'm looking for things to do now, which I am, I need to think about putting my brush down, because we're going for simplicity, aren't we? We're going for keeping things nice and simple. And that's exactly how I'd want my picture to look if I was painting it in colour. I'm just going to drag in some shapes there with the side of my brush, just to create that little bush shape there, look. And I'm going to put my brush down now. I mean, I can always come in later on. She says, put the brush down, Joanne, put the brush down. I can always come in later on and add more darks if I feel it needs it. I think I'd like to just darken the little windows here and the clock. But apart from that now, I've got a lovely balance of darks against lights. Always putting a dark against a light, a dark against a light, darks against the lights of the wall, and so on. And of course that lovely pathway, which is lovely and light, and it's taking you through the picture. So we've gone from the initial big photograph that I took that was just had too much information in it, down to cropping the picture like that. And now we've made a much better composition, and we're still telling the story of the church. We're taking the viewer on a little walk. We're using the shrubs as curtains. Da-da! And there you go. So practice, practice, practice. And if you're unsure about certain aspects of this, because monochromatic painting isn't that easy, it looks it, but it isn't. Practice little areas. Lovely little area there you can practice with this little porch here, or the side of the church, keeping the light and just putting a dark against it. There's so many things you can do. Now, I didn't mention this, but those of you who know me well know that I love doing this. So I'm just going to give it a cheeky little spritz there. And we're done. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.